I'm feeling a little romantic today. Hello, super friends, and welcome to another episode of Superhero Saturday. I'm Annie M. Pasquinelli. I've been thinking a little bit about this week's video, which is all about writing romantic subplots for your superhero stories. Romance is always a great thing to add to any story. Everyone loves love. I love love. The problem is, because it's in just about every single story that we've ever told as human beings, it can be hard to find something that isn't super cliche and way too common and makes us want to throw up in our mouths a little bit. There are near infinite ways to write a really good romantic subplot, and because of that, it's kind of hard to shove that all into one little listicle. So instead, what I'm going to give you is a list of 4 don'ts for when writing a romantic subplot, and 4 do's. Do's and don'ts. Doo-doo. So, quick definition of the word trope for you, because I'm going to use it a lot. The word trope means, what does the word trope mean? I'm going to look this up right now. A trope is a common story or character device that is seen throughout lots and lots of different stories, whether that's on television, in print writing, in comic books, all sorts of places. A trope isn't inherently a bad thing. It's actually almost unavoidable because of all the different types of stories that are out there and available in popular media today. However, because certain types of tropes get used so often, they start to get boring and audiences lose interest in them, especially if they're not done well. With that being said, here is the list of what kind of romantic tropes not to use in your superhero story. Number 1, plot devices only. There are generally 3 different types of this. The first one is known as fridging. That's the classic story of your main character having a significant other that at the very beginning of the story is brutally killed and destroyed and all sorts of things for the sole purpose of creating emotional tension for the main character. Their pointless death or their victimhood to whatever evil plot is going on is literally just there to give the hero something to do. The reason it's called fridging is that in an old story about the Green Lantern, the love interest is brutally murdered at the very beginning of the story, and her body is left in the refrigerator for our hero to discover, and therefore to spur him on into defeating the supervillain. It's a cheap and frankly really offensive way of creating tension in your story, and yet people still do it over and over and over again. Probably because it's easy. If you're going to kill off your love interest, at least give the audience some time to get invested in this character, so that when they do actually get killed off, it means something. Don't fridge your characters, folks. The second version of this is less murdery, the constantly being rescued trope. This doesn't even have to do with the damsel in distress anymore, because you can gender swap and do all sorts of different things, and it's still really the same thing. If the love interest is constantly having to be rescued by the hero from some dangerous situation, especially when that love interest character is supposed to be a smart and or competent human being, then your audience is gonna lose interest and not believe them so much. Because you're just being dumb. 1 or 2 rescue scenes are nice, especially if the character isn't used to needing to be rescued, but doing this over and over again just for the sake of creating extra motivation for your hero to save the day, then it's not a great romantic subplot. They're just an idiot with a death wish. The final version of this is the last one turned on its head. If your hero is constantly being rescued by their love interest when they're the one who's supposed to be saving the day, then you're just straight up lying to your audience. You're telling them that this is a superhero who can do things that are incredible and save many lives, but then you're showing them that it's actually not the case. Don't lie to your audiences like that. Number 2, friend zone, dead zone. Just don't do it. The whole concept of the friend zone is just justification of entitlement. If I like someone and am nice to them, then therefore they owe me, and they have to like me back. No, that's not the case. Just be a genuinely good person, especially if you're a superhero. This is also not the same thing as unrequited love or even just a character who hasn't expressed their interest in the other character. If the hero hasn't told their love interest yet that they like them, then that can still create some good character tension. And it's much more compelling than just sticking them in the friend zone. So don't do it. Be better creators. Some other types of friend zone things to be avoided. The best friend zone. Just because your characters have been friends for a long time doesn't mean they automatically have to become lovers. End of story. Being stupid about the secret identity. If your characters know each other at all, they're going to recognize you with or without the mask. Don't just slap some Clark Kent glasses on and say that everything's okay. Still lying to the audience. This is one that I actually just found a really cool title for, and it's called the Two-Sided Love Triangle. This is where the love interest falls in love with the alter ego and hates the secret identity. It's one thing for a character to fantasize about a superhero because they're out saving the day all the time. It's kind of like having a celebrity crush. But if they don't like the secret identity person, then chances are them two getting together is not going to work out. And even if you flip it to the reverse, for example, someone hating the alter ego and loving the secret identity, you know what, it's just way overdone. Me, particularly, I hate love triangles in general. I think they're unrealistic, I think they're silly, I think that they're so overused that we just need to let that thing die for a little while. They also make your cast of characters seem really small, especially if you have a golden trio as your main cast. It's actually way better to find someone outside of your main crew to become a romantic love interest, because then your audience is left wondering, are they good enough for my main character? Are they gonna join the team? Are they gonna get in on the action? Where are all the ships? I wanna see all the ships. Number 3, hot equals desirable. Just making a character physically attractive and nothing else is not creating a compelling love interest, especially if they are, for some unknown reason, attracting a whole horde of suitors. Boring and unrealistic. On that note, love, or rather lust at first sight, is also kind of boring. It's one thing to be attracted to someone when you first meet them, but it's another to have your whole romantic subplot focused on how these two are super hot together. People don't fall in love with each other just because they're good looking. I challenge you to make your romantic subplot about something more than explicit sexuality. Seriously, keep it in your pants, people. Another hot equals desirable trope is the ugly duckling story. Just giving your hero a dramatic makeover scene is not going to make their love interest fall in love with them. Let me see them become a genuinely better person, rather than just become more traditionally physically attractive. That character development is a lot more interesting than just slapping on some makeup and winning over the special someone. Number 4, I'm the bad guy. Duh. There's a real big reason why I won't be going and seeing the new Joker movie, and we're not going to get into all of that, but we'll get into a little bit of it here. These bad guys are bad because, big surprise, they do bad things, and we should not be glorifying their badness. Let me get into some detail by explaining some of the subtropes in this category. The jerk significant other. If your character is in the friend zone just because the love interest is already in a relationship with someone who is an absolute jerk and nobody has any idea why they're with that person, it's not an interesting romantic subplot. This is just another facet of the lust and friend zone tropes. Sure, when you like someone who happens to already be in a relationship with someone else, that person can seem like the bad guy in your story. It can seem like a jerk, but that's just your perception. If you really want to make this one of your romantic subplots, then at least make that other person a respectable character. It's a much more compelling challenge of character if the other two are actually, a decent match for each other. Creating this character who's a jerk is actually just a lighter version of the next few tropes, which, spoiler alert, you really don't want to fall into. Dating Catwoman, or the hot supervillain trope. I understand that a lot of good guys want to try and see the good in everyone around them, and want to help the bad guys to become better. But why on earth would that make a bad guy into a potential romantic partner? That makes no sense. The only thing that these people have in common is that the good guy is constantly trying to stop the bad guy from doing bad things. It's a corrupted hero complex. If I could only love them enough, then maybe I could save them and stop them from being a bad guy. Yeah, no, that's the equivalent of saying, but I can fix him. No, you're worth more than that, honey. And so are your characters. On the other side of this, what we see is the bad guy having fun, corrupting and tempting the good guy into becoming more and more bad. Temptation is one thing. A slow descent into evilness is another. Not only does this not make sense, I'm just straight up not cool with it. Our final trope is the villain redemption arc gone bad. This is not okay. If your potential love interest is an abuser, that does not make them complex or compelling or interesting. It just makes them a jerk. It makes them a bad guy. Do not lionize this type of redemption arc by having your hero become the prize that the bad guy wins by coming back to the light. Let's get real, folks. This is the hot supervillain trope taken to a much darker place. A bad guy getting a redemption arc can be a great plotline, but it shouldn't be done at the expense of our hero. Our hero is not required to fix them. They're required to stop them from doing bad things and harming other people, but they're not required to fall in love with them. At least have this bad guy love interest get help outside of the relationship with the hero. And then if you want to maybe come back to them later and see that kind of forgiveness and healing, I mean, that's up to you. But wouldn't it be so much better if the hero just had someone to love who actually treated them right? That's the kind of relationship that we should be glorifying. It's past time we stopped fetishizing the idea of suffering through abuse for the sake of romance. The world is a big place full of beautiful, kind, compassionate, caring, good people. Pick one of those for your hero, dang it! Now that that's all taken care of, let's move on to the 4 things that you should do when creating a romantic subplot for your superhero story. Number 1, develop the characters as individuals before you put them together. In fact, while you're developing your characters and seeing how they interact with each other, you might find out that some of them just vibe together naturally, without you having to force them. That gives everything a solid foundation when each of these characters have their own identities, and coming together just makes them both better for it. Plus, it makes it much more believable. Number 2, let the relationship build and deepen over time, rather than just jumping into it right out of the gate. Like any other type of story, a romantic subplot needs time to develop properly and bring the audience in. Watch these characters discover commonalities. Watch them build trust. Take attraction one step at a time. And when your characters do go together, don't focus every single scene with the 2 of them in it on that romantic relationship. Cutesy fartsy romantic scenes are awesome and definitely should be in there, but they don't need to be the only thing going on. You still have to save the world after all. Number 3, find conflict, cringe, and awkwardness and put it right into your romantic subplot. Let things get inconvenient. If I'm not laughing or crying or, cringing in sheer awkwardness during the course of their courtship, then frankly, it's not interesting enough. When the hero has to work up the courage to ask that special person out, and then everything just falls apart during the proposal. When they keep trying to find time to be together only to miss each other by just that much. When they learn something devastatingly annoying about the other person that just makes them have to reevaluate everything they've ever thought. Having things go wrong for your hero at every turn is a great way to add tension and interest into your story, no matter what genre. Honestly, if I can make my readers cringe so much for my characters that they almost have to put the book down, but they can't because they have to know what's going to happen next, then I'm doing my job. Number 4, remember that all of these tropes, all of these things that are used over and over again for romantic subplots can always be done well. So if you're out there thinking that you really want to try the hot supervillain thing, you're welcome to give it a shot. There's a reason why they're so commonplace and cliche that we're just sick of hearing them. It can be really compelling when it's done right. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you in this video is to at least try some of the more creative options for your romantic subplots first, before falling back on those other ones. Then if the plot you want really still seems cliche, try messing things up a little bit. You'd be surprised how much making a plan go wrong for your characters can make your plot go right. Just please avoid the ones that are straight up evil. We don't need to put any more of that into the universe. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoyed it, then go ahead and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos about superheroes every Saturday. If you want to join the Fearless 9 team, you can hop on over to our Patreon page and support us over there. Get more exclusive content and swag and books. In just a few weeks, I will be going up to Portland for Oricon 41, which is the oldest comic sci-fi fantasy convention in the state of Oregon. So if you're going up there, make sure to hit me up or come by our booth. Thanks so much, Super Friends, and we'll see you next week.